Hello, 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 friends. If it's the morning, good morning. If it's the evening, good evening. Welcome to the present. I'm calling out to you from my present to your present. You know what I mean? Whatever time is present for you, that's where I am right now. And we're both in the present. Soon we'll both be in the past. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a nice thing? Yeah, this is DSC 30. And this episode is called Noteworthy Contemporary Werewolf Artists. I scoured the internet this week looking for information on werewolf artists, looking for information on lycanthropes, lycanthropic creative people who have made differences in creativity. And honestly, I didn't find much, which is weird. You would think there'd be more. There are a lot of people studying magic these days, so I felt like I should just throw my hat in there and talk about some of the research I've been doing independently about contemporary werewolf artists, specifically Dominican werewolf artists. So that made it even fucking smaller, the amount of people that I was able to find. I went through libraries. I went through underground tunnels that had like old ass books in there. I had to contact mean old Haitian people to ask them questions about lycanthropes. I can't even tell you the names they use because I can't pronounce them properly. I don't want to get laughed at by the Creole speaking audience. So in this episode, I'm going to be telling you about 3 famous contemporary werewolf artists, or at least they should be famous. To me, they're famous now that I've read about them, and maybe they'll be famous to you as well after we have this little discussion. And then I'm going to answer some of your questions that you submitted through YouTube about werewolves, which I solicited from you. But first, a couple of announcements. The best way for you to support me, if you like what I do, are 2 ways. One, patreon.com/valet. You go to patreon.com/valet, donate, sign up. Right now we have 7 patrons, and I want to thank you all. Most noteworthy, new one, Tommy Tootsters. Thank you. Tommy Tootsters has been submitting a bunch of awesome questions, always commenting on the videos that I make. Thank you, Tommy, for being a patron. If you sign up on patreon.com/valet, you'll get vlogs. You'll get access to old-ass content that I will not show anywhere else. Stuff like that I drew from high school and before high school that I don't want anyone to see, but I will show you. You'll get behind-the-scenes vlogs. At the top tier, I send out original art once every 3 months. Tutorials are coming. Shop discounts are coming. A lot of stuff on there. Thank you for donating on Patreon. Also, maybe you don't give a shit about any of the extra stuff and you just want to support. You just want to donate. That's perfectly fucking fine. The other way to support me, domradburn.com/shop. So you go to domradburn.com/shop, buy a print, buy a t-shirt. We got a couple t-shirts, we got a couple prints. A couple prints are still left. 2 Coopers, the Twin Peaks print that I did. Got about 3 of those left, I believe. Portrait of the Dead King, that's about 13 left. Portrait of Flamagra, still got a couple left. Do not remember the amount. Anyway, hop on there. Please support your boy. And don't forget, these are limited edition prints. And the money that you give to me will eventually go back to you because I'm going to be hiring more people, be able to leave my day job, all that stuff. So if you believe in this shit, if you really fuck with me, please support me. Thank you very much. Okay, that's all. I thought I'd start this out by really define. Oh, wow, this art is fucking awesome that I'm looking at right now. It's like, it's right behind me. And it's a Looks like a print, some kind of print made by. My guess is that this was made. Oh my fucking god! I'm gonna try to describe this. It's a dude who's rabid. He just turned into a werewolf. It looks like an etching that like Gustav Doré would make, but just not as adept at making shit at etching. Wow. Woodcut of a Werewolf Attack by Lucas Cranach der Altair. Lucas Cranach the Elder, German Renaissance painter. This was made in 1512. What's behind me right now? Shout out to you Spotify listeners who can't see what I'm talking about right now. But the dude is rabid and he looks like he just bit a child. And it is pretty fucking metal, this piece of art. If you want to know what I'm talking about, just Google werewolf on Wikipedia. Do that while you're listening to me. You're going to see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to read the definition of a werewolf, and I'm going to tell you about some werewolves. We're going to answer some questions, and I'm going to send you on your merry way. We're going to make this a quick one. Quick is nice, right? In folklore, a werewolf, or occasionally lycanthrope, is a human with the ability to shapeshift into a wolf, or, especially in modern film, a therianthropic hybrid wolf creature, either purposely or after being placed under a curse or affliction, often a bite or scratch from another werewolf, and especially on the night of a full moon. Early sources for belief in this ability or affliction, called lycanthropy, are Petronius from the year fucking 27. Look at Petronius.
I believe that people are able to turn into wolves. They're able to turn into wolves.
Now bring me my boy, servant. And Gervais of Tilbury. Gervais of Tilbury, from the year 1150 to 1228. He was apparently a lawyer and a statesman. I don't know what a fucking statesman is. Is that a person who states things? Who the fuck knows? I have no clue. I'm going to put up this beautiful painting behind me. I'm going to dig into my deep art lore. I'm going to spout lore on this. This is a Hieronymus Bosch painting. I'm wrong. This is not Hieronymus Bosch. Is it? No, this is by Peter Bruegel the Elder. A different elder. I could have swore it was a Hieronymus Bosch. Maybe I should just say that it's Hieronymus Bosch. Whatever. Anyway. Noteworthy contemporary werewolf artists. We're going to get right into this shit. Number one. First one that came to mind that I researched. For you, for your pleasure. Reginald Pierre is a Haitian composer. Still alive. And some would say his masterpiece is a piece he made in 2015 that's untitled. It's a composition he made. And Reginald Pierre is not a werewolf. That's one of the most fascinating things about this. Reginald Pierre was able to convince 20 musicians who are lycanthropic to be part of this composition I'm going to tell you about. It's 14 hours long, and the idea is that he would get all werewolf artists, all werewolf musicians to come out of the woodwork and perform this piece. The piece itself is not that interesting, but what happened before, during, and after the piece, that is what's special about this. So what happened is Reginald Pierre has these artists line up, get together. This happened in Boston. He has them get together, and they've been practicing this piece, right? They're all wearing the tuxes, and they're shackled. That's the most important part you got to remember. They're shackled, their arms and legs, in their human form, and I'll get to this. The shackles are pretty thick and heavy, but like it gives them enough room to move around. And they're all decked out. Just imagine this whole orchestra holding their cellos, brass, woodwind, all that shit, strings, percussion, even the triangle player, right? They're all shackled. And you know where I'm going with this. It took place on a full moon. So what happened is he's composing this piece. All of a sudden, and they knew this was going to happen, they start groaning, grunting. The transformations start happening as the piece is going on. So the viewers are able to see live changes. Lycanthropes in the midst of performing. So it kind of became an endurance piece as well. An endurance piece because like they're trying to fight against their nature to finish this piece out, which is impossible. Because the piece was designed so that while the full moon is happening, Reginald Pierre designed this. He designed this piece so that they would Hulk out, they would werewolf out, right? And then they're shackled. So eventually you get a group of 20 werewolf artists who are just thrashing about, shackled, like biting each other and shit. But they had enough of a distance so that they wouldn't be fucking each other up or fucking up the stage or whatever. So for the next 13 hours, about 13 or 12 hours, they're all just like fucked up werewolves. And the most interesting part happens. Reginald Pierre just sits there, takes notes on the composition. And this, to him, he felt like this is still part of the piece. The piece is still going on. This is up for debate. I happen to think that it's not part of the piece, and this is kind of like that artist who did John something. He did that piece of silence where he sits at a piano and does absolutely fucking nothing for 5 minutes and calls it a song. I don't know. Anyway, after the full moon is gone, the shackles are still on them, and you have 20 nude artists who are just bloody. All the fur has shed off of them, and they're looking around, what the fuck has happened? But the amazing part is that they were able to pick their pieces up, pick up their violins, their cellos, their trumpets, everything that wasn't destroyed, naked, just sit on the ground, and then Reginald Pierre just has them calmly finish out. Rousing applause. Sonia Henriquez, the second contemporary werewolf artist I'm going to tell you about, is a Jamaican poet. In 92, she became famous for intentionally turning during one of her poetry readings. And with such intense focus, Sonia managed to only kill 2 members of the audience instead of all of them. And that's very noteworthy. Werewolves, we all know, come on, they kill everything. They're just off. Whenever they get turned, it's like the Hulk. They immediately just run out and they're just killing everybody. Like they don't really have a lot of sense to not do these sorts of things, to not feed the hunger, the ferocity of their condition. So she only killed 2 members of the crowd. So this is Sonia Henriquez is kind of like Marina Abramovich in a way. So after this, she huddles down and pretty much sobs for the remainder of the moon phase. So kind of similar to the Reginald Pierre situation, this is like an endurance art piece. And her poetry was her not killing everybody in the crowd. She didn't have to be shackled for her to fight against her nature. This was actually a big turning point in our consciousness medically of what lycanthropy is and our understanding of what werewolves can or can't do because of Sonia Henriquez. Third and final contemporary werewolf artist I'm going to tell you guys about is David Pena. Some of you might have seen this coming, or maybe not, but I'm going to tell you about it. David Pena has won all sorts of awards for his books and novels and speaking engagements and all that stuff. Some say that one day he might win a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know. That'd be pretty cool. See a werewolf win a Nobel Peace Prize. Bring some awareness to this condition, to these people, this underrepresented community. Sometimes overrepresented and over-fetishized in the media and all that stuff. Anyway, David Pena is a Dominican writer whose novel, Silver Circle, which I know some of you have read, but I'm going to dig into it a little bit more, so bear with me. Silver Circle, published in '99, was based heavily on his experiences trying to live with what he calls the affliction, which is obviously lycanthropy, obviously him being a werewolf, and his efforts to try to break into the more elite circles of werewolves in New York. So when he was younger, around like 85, this is sort of like him figuring out the who's who of like who were the elite in New York, who were the Wall Street bankers of the werewolf society. Because sometimes the people who get bitten by werewolves and scratched and cursed are super wealthy. They're super wealthy and they have a lot of privileges, a lot of status, a lot of resources that middle class, lower middle class, and just dead poor werewolves don't have. And as you might imagine, if you're a werewolf and you're in poverty, you're on welfare, you have a very different experience from a werewolf who is rich as fuck, a millionaire, possibly even a billionaire. So in this book, he's hanging around with, or trying to hang around with, these groups. And this is like Internet 1.0. Again, this is published in like 99. So one cool thing about David Pena's work is that he was at the forefront of including stuff like chat logs, chat room logs, emails, and that sort of thing. Really, I think putting the sort of value that we should be putting on digital media now and really inserting into a book, I think that makes him pretty special. So this book contains a lot of conversations and emails between him and his mostly underground group of werewolves who also have money, which he didn't. Interesting combos about race, class, socioeconomic status, and werewolves in this book. Pick up Silver Circle if you get the chance. Let me know what you thought about it. And while you're here, leave me a fucking like and a comment and a subscribe if you haven't done that yet. How are you? You feeling good? You feeling nice? You feeling happy and excited? You're looking at this not Hieronymus Bosch painting that's behind me. And this thing is just so packed. This thing is so packed with stuff and things. I love it. I love paintings like this. It's like a little, it's like a fucked up Where's Waldo. You know what I mean? If Where's Waldo was trapped in this world where people were threatening to cut his head off while smugly smiling. With that, I'm going to get a drink of water, and then we're going to come back right after this little break. Okay, I am back and hydrated and fully ready to answer your questions that you submitted about lycanthropy, about werewolves, about the afflicted, cursed individuals who must wander the earth, hairy, frustrated, and horny when there's a full moon. Okay, so most of these questions were submitted on YouTube through a post I made, but do not forget that anytime you can ask me a question at ask@domrabron.com. Okay, first question about werewolves that we got. First off, I want to thank you all for submitting. But I'm going to pick the questions that stood out to me the most. One of them from King Ghidra. How do werewolves fall into the canon of DSC? Do they even exist? Yes, they exist. Yes, they exist. Just told you about them for 10 minutes. You feel me? But I think to answer your question further, they mostly exist on Instagram. Werewolves mostly exist on Instagram, and that's how you find most of them. If you're a werewolf hunter, that's the place you go looking for them, and that's where they're most likely to get cursed. People don't really know that now. You don't have to be bitten by a werewolf anymore. Like that word is just sort of, it's a little ambiguous these days in the digital era. That's all I'm going to say. A little ambiguous how you bite somebody and how you share that affliction. I'll get into it another time. A lot of these questions were answered in this episode, But I'm just going to reiterate that anyway by answering Pseudonym's question. Pseudonym asks, does a werewolf have any control over their actions once they turn into a werewolf? Yes, I gave you one example of that with Sonia, but from what I've heard, what I've read, werewolves will pretty much feel like it's like being in a lucid dream. You know, if you get bitten by a werewolf, if you get bitten and you're turning, what I've heard is that during a full moon, you're sort of like, it sort of feels as though you know you're in a state and you can almost shift things. Like you can shift things by like, it's like you have maybe 5 to 10% control of yourself. So it's like if you really, really don't want to do something, you can just sort of like force your way out of it if you're not in like a direct trajectory. If you're not like, it's like if you're running at it's a bad analogy. It's like having a train. It's like trying to slow a train down. You can slow a train down, but it's going to take a lot of time, and by the time you've slowed it down, you've probably run over a couple of cows because you don't have a cow catcher. I don't know if people even have cow catchers on trains anymore. That seems to be an old thing. Cow catcher. I like saying that. Cow catcher. Last question is from Will Schultz. This is a little bit weird. Okay, so like what if the werewolf was hanging out with all the wolves, but then the moon went away and he turned back into a businessman? Are all his wolf friends just like, what the fuck, bro? They'd probably kill him. If he turns back into himself and he's like, oh boy, what a conundrum, that dude is fucking dead. I don't care if he's the alpha of the pack. They're gonna grab him by his nuts and do like a lasso. Just swing him around, pass him around. Other person grabs him by his nuts, throw him off a cliff. He bounces off the cliff, and that means his death. Werewolf deaths. So yeah, in the comments below, I want to know about your interactions with werewolves, or the times that you did not interact with werewolves. You can tell me about things that have not happened to you in the comments as well. But I appreciate all your comments. Thank you all for submitting. I read all of them, cannot respond to all of them, but do not forget, always send me a question through ask@domrabron.com, DM me on IG, DM me on Twitter, at me, whatever. I'll probably find it. I want to thank you all for being here. For those of you who sent in messages, thank you. For those of you whose questions I've answered, you'll be getting a little gift. For those of you who answered a question, if you could just send me a message at ask@domrabron.com and be like, you answered my question, because I don't have YouTube obviously doesn't let me just message you directly, and this will actually make it easier for me. Let me know, Will Schultz, King Ghidra, pseudonym. Send me an email, and I will send you your gift, which is a digital Valet the Summoning card that you will only see, and the patrons on patreon.com/valet. At the concierge tier, I believe, will be able to see it. That's all. It's a secret. Okay. Thank you all for watching or listening, wherever it is you are. I love hearing from my international viewers and listeners. So if you're in another country that's not in the U.S., let me know. If you're in an exotic location in the U.S., like Delaware, let me know as well. Thank you. I hope you have an excellent weekend. Hope you have a bunch of creative interactions with people. I hope you make something. Make something even though you might think it's dumb or like whatever, you're going to be judged, whatever the fuck it is. Just make it and then deal with the consequences later. You know what I'm saying? Make something good and then share it and then deal with the consequences, which are most likely going to be either people are going to say nothing or they're really going to like it. That's kind of the only two consequences. So do that, and I will see you all next time, episode 31 of DSC. Thank you very much. Do not forget patreon.com/valet. Do not forget domrabron.com/shop. Okay, goodbye.